Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us this morning. What we're going to be showing you today is Microsoft Teams and how to use Teams to work productively and effectively, efficiently from home. Obviously, in the current climate, we're all locked in on most part, and we have to make the best we can. Well, Teams is a phenomenal product. We've used Teams now for a good 12 months or so at Eitex. We use it every single day from the moment we walk into the office to the moment we leave. But more so now, because we're all working from our homes, it's particularly important. This kind of technology allows us to work just as we would if we were at work from our desks or wherever our workplaces are. And that's what I want to show you this morning. So this morning's session we're doing on behalf of Mid Chamber of Commerce. So thank you to those guys for organising this morning. So I'm going to start off today. What we're going to be doing is breaking the session into two halves. So the first half, we're going to show you how Eitex as an organisation uses Teams. So to give you like a real life scenario of a working Teams environment and how we use it to give you those kinds of examples and things. And then the second half, from about 10 o'clock, I'm going to show you how to start building a team for your organisation, how to get started inviting team members and those sorts of things. During the session, please feel free to ask questions along the way. If there's anything important, Chris will interrupt and say, Dean, we've just been asked this, if you could explain. But what we'll do at the end, about 10:30, we'll read out any questions that you might have had, and we'll answer those as best we can. So with regards to Teams, if you have Office 365, and many businesses do now, then the chances are you've got Teams already and you can use Teams in your organization. You're already licensed for it. So the license types, the Office 365 license types that include Teams are Business Essentials, here, Business Premium, E1, E3 or E5. Now those are the most popular Office 365 subscriptions, and if your business has got one of those, then you're already licensed for Microsoft Teams. There's also a free version of Teams. So if you Google Microsoft Teams free, then there's a free version. But also now as well, we're able to give you a 12-month free trial of Teams. So if you've got an email only license, for example, with Office 365, or if you don't have Office 365, we can give you a 12-month free trial. So it gets you all working from home with all the tools that you need right away. So I'm not going to bore you with PowerPoint this morning. I'm going to go straight into Teams itself. So hopefully you can all see my screen. Chris, can you see my mouse pointer?
I can, yeah.
You can, yeah. Great. So if I move to the left of the screen, you'll see here it says Teams. And these, what you're looking at right now, are some of the channels that we use in Eitex. So let's have a look. Introduction to Teams. Show. So this one here is a channel I've created specifically for Teams and to demonstrate Teams, which I'm showing to you this morning. It's called Introduction to Teams. Now these here, we've got the IT, you've got the S, you've got the PS, you've got the P. These are the teams within Eitex organisation. And a team you can have for a particular department in your business. So here we've got help desk, projects, processes, sales, for example. Now in your business, you could have a team that's company wide, that spans the entire organization. or you might have a team for a geographical location. If you work from different offices throughout the country, for example, Leeds, London, Liverpool, Manchester, wherever, then you can have a team for that particular geographical division. At Eitex, though, we separate this into the business department. So again, help desk, projects, processes, sales. So this one at the bottom is called Introduction to Teams. Now, in a team channel, you have members. So if I click on these three dots here and go to Manage Team, and then at the bottom here, it shows me the members of this team. So I know all these people here. So I've got Mel, I've got Chris, Tom, Martin, Jake, Richard, for example. Those are members of this team, and I'm the owner at the top here. So if I go to General and say hello team, now each of those team members will see this message. This essentially is like a message board. Now you need to be looking at this team to see that message, but what you can do at the top right hand side of the screen, there's three dots there. If you click on channel notifications, and then in channel notifications, what you can do is set to be notified whenever there's activity in this team. So if I do hello at Introduction to Teams, hopefully some of my team members will start and respond. The difference between this message here and this message here, I've tagged the team in, and what that does, it comes up as a pop-up on their screen, so you can see these people are now starting to respond. Now Chris has said hello, I can give him a thumbs up. Tom said hello, I can give him a smiley face, whatever, or I can say hello Tom. Now this conversation we're having here is essentially a group conversation, so anybody in that team can see this conversation. It's different from email communication because you'd include in the entire group rather than a one-to-one communication. So if I was to email Tom and Tom was to email me back, nobody else can see that, that's private, whereas on here you're working together in a team. So at work, in your office environment, for example, or wherever you work, if I said hello Tom to Tom in that room, everybody else in that room can hear that communication. And that's important when you're talking about a project or an opportunity, whatever you're talking about, because the other people in the room are aware of that conversation. They can hear that's going off. So if it's regarding a project and I'm speaking to Chris about a project, because Chris and I are the ones that are managing the project, other people of course are aware of it, and they may join or come into that project lifecycle a little bit further down the line. So they're already aware of it because they've been listening to that conversation in the room. Well, that's what this is here. You can see that conversation even though you're not actively involved, for example, in that particular conversation. And what you also have, if I scroll up, you've got this conversation forevermore. So you don't have to, for example, like you might have done previously, go to your Outlook inbox and search for a conversation about project ABC or project 1, 2, 3 or job 9, 10, 11, whatever it is. And then all those search results come up. You've got the conversation here. Now, this conversation remains in this team, so it's within the context of that team. So if I said hello to Chris within sales, or said hello to Chris within projects, then Chris knows right away it's regarding projects, or it's regarding sales, or it's regarding the help desk. So that's categorizing, if you like, that communication. So we've got the team channel here. We've got the conversation that's flowing between the team members. I said hello and then tagged in the team. Likewise, I can say hello at. Now, if you do it at, it shows you the team members. CT, it's knows it's Chris, and that's tagged Chris. So Chris will get a pop-up on his screen. He knows I've spoken to him, but again, the whole room or the whole team can see. So one thing that you have to be aware of on here is that if this was a finance team or something like that, HR, directors, management, whatever, then you only should invite the people that relate to that team, because if it's your whole company and you invite the whole company to HR, then of course everybody can see. And you'll see what I mean here when I show you files. So files are the files and folders that we share with this team. So if this was projects, in here there'll be project data, or if it's sales, there might be sales data, accounts data. So if it was accounts data, then you should hopefully understand that you only should invite people that have got access to this data, because whoever's in this team, of course, can see everything in this team. So these files and folders here, here I've got a file called Office 365 packages. You can see there it's an Excel document. Now, if I click on this, what this allows me to do is open this Excel document, but within the Teams environment. And now, Chris, are you there? Can you open the same document, please?
I can, yep.
What this allows us to do is work collaboratively together. Now, if I was at work, I might shout across the office, "Hi, Chris, can you look at this document with me? Can you help me do this document, Office 365 packages? If you do row B, I'll do row C, or if you do row D, or you do sheet 1, I'll do sheet 2. Now you can see this has appeared at the top. It says CT, so I can see Chris is editing I10, is there, look. And I'm editing now H14. So I can do these 1, 2, 3, and Chris is editing here. And what that allows us to do is work collaboratively together, like we would if we were at work, like we would if we were in the office. I can speak to Chris audibly. He can hear my voice, I can hear his voice. I can see him on the screen. I can see him working away, which I will show you now. So I've got Chris here. And we can also work, if you look on the right of the screen here, we've got conversation. Morning, Chris. Can we work on these sales figures? So Chris and I work on these sales figures today. Now, because this is opened within the Teams environment, what it's allowing us to do, of course, is communicate like we're doing here. We've got this chat on the right. I can see his face, I can hear his voice. So the fact that he's working from home, I am working from home, it doesn't matter. We're working together in exactly the same way as what we always would. If I click on these 3 buttons here at the top, I can open this document in Excel. Now, if I click that, it will open that Excel document in the full version of Excel that you obviously be more used to, but that takes you away from the Teams environment. So I can still hear and speak to Chris via the webcam or audibly via the microphone, but you lose this chat here. So you see this is really useful. Those of you with servers or file shares in your company, probably familiar when you see you're probably aware that when you try and open an Excel document and somebody else has got it open already, it'll say this document's open, open it as read only, yes, no, notify me when it's closed. You don't have that in here. You can just actively work together all at the same time. Now this works with any Microsoft Office kind of file. So here, for example, we've got a Word document, those sorts of things. Right, so just a quick summary. So these are your teams here: help desk, projects, processes, sales, introduction to Teams. Now down on the left here, these are your team channels. So we've got a general. When you create a new team for the very first time, you will see the general channel will be there created by default, and then you'll have the posts and the files. So what we can do here is create additional channels. So I've created one there called finance. Now, if you remember, I gave that as an example on a previous Teams session. That's a bad idea, because the permissions at the top level will filter down into these channels, and whoever's got access here also has access to any channel beneath this. So if this was a channel for a geographical location, this is the Leeds office, this is the London office, the Manchester office. What you can do is segment this channel, this team down into channels. So if I click here, I can add a channel. So within the Leeds office, this might be projects, whatever. And then you're keeping it all. This could be your company-wide channel, and then you're dividing it up. Now here, you'll see a private channel. Now the private channel is really useful. If you wanted to keep things private from the whole channel, conversations and things like that. And an example I give for private channels is if I go to here again and then click Manage Team, and I've got team members here. These are all the individuals within our organization. Now, if this was a sales channel, what we can also do is add external people. So you could add your customers, and we do add customers, and it breaks down those barriers of communication. So I could add Joe at blogs.com, and I click that and then click add. And what will happen, Joe at blogs.com, Joe will get an email to say that you've been invited to this team. Now, what that allows us to do is communicate with our customers on here on this Teams channel. So my customers can communicate with myself, my team, we're communicating with them, they're communicating with us, and it's all open, and our customers talk to us frequently on here. But using the sales example again, the customer might have an order with Eitex, whatever, and they might have goods that are due to arrive next week. And the customer might ask us on this general channel here on the posts, can we have the goods this week instead of next week? Or can we have them in red instead of blue, or changing something? Now, of course, I wanted to talk to my team members about this particular job. So customers asked if we can have this week instead of next week. So what I've got here is a private channel within that main channel. And if I click on these three dots here and click on Manage Channel, then I've got a smaller number of team members here. So I can have a conversation here which is within the context of this team, but it's private. It's kept away from the rest of the team. So I can go into here and say, hi, Chris. The customer would like to know if they can have red instead of blue, whatever. Now, of course, that's kept away from the customer, because Chris might say, well, yeah, but this is required. We need to do that, or shift this about to fulfill that, or whatever it is. And now Chris will hopefully come back and say, yes, or yes, but we need to do that, or whatever. So once Chris replies, are you still there, Chris?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. So can you just reply to that that private channel? I've asked if the customer can have red instead of blue. And hopefully
yeah.
Oh yeah, lovely. I'm sure the customer would love pink. So what I can do is go to the general tab, say, hello, customer. We don't have red, but we have pink. It's okay. So I've had a conversation with Chris about that sales opportunity, but it's within a private area of that team. And now I've broadcast that out and made my customer aware. And again, the entire team, the entire channel is aware, even though they might not necessarily be involved in this particular conversation, they're aware that that's happened. So if they was to phone the office and somebody else, Richard or Tom or Jake, picked up the phone, and they might have seen this and said, oh yeah, we're aware of this customer, and it just keeps everybody in the loop. Which is really good. Again, we use it all the time at Eitex. It's a really useful feature. So again, these are your teams here, these are your channels. Now within your channels, at the top, you have what you call tabs. Now your tabs, you have posts and you have files by default when you create a new team. But then across here, what we've also got is agenda. We've got Eitex, which opens up the Eitex website, and I'll explain that to you in a second. We've got a production planner, those sorts of things. If any of you've seen Trello, I don't know if any of you've seen Trello before. It's like a Kanban, like a job board kind of system, and you can have projects in here and project progress. So here we've got not started, we've got planned, we've got in progress. And again, because it's within the Teams environment, we can talk about these jobs here. We've got sales charts, those sorts of things. Now, the tabs across the top, if I click here, if I click the plus sign, you can add whatever is pertinent or whatever is necessary for that particular channel. So if this is a channel for managers, directors, or it might be a channel for the sales team, what you can do is pull in an Excel spreadsheet, for example, which might show sales performance. It might show the salesperson and the targets and those sorts of things. What it also does, it links out to other cloud applications. So we have a management channel here that links out, for example, to our accounts package. We use Xero, but there's lots of different cloud packages now. And because it's a cloud-based package, you can actually plug, if you like, that information into here and show that information. And what this allows you to do is talk about the sales charts and talk about the production and talk about anything else without leaving the Teams environment. So you've got all that conversation, but that's backed by all this information that you can add here. Now, the one I showed here was that we can add websites as well. So we're essentially pinning websites to here. So if you're working to British standards, or if you buy things via e-commerce, that kind of thing. So if you're selling red and blue gadgets or pink widgets or whatever, then you might have a link to your supplier's website that you can pin here. So that might be an e-commerce website, and you scroll down and these are your parts, and you can check stock availability. So what you don't need to do is go off to your web browser somewhere else and start searching on Google, because what you're doing is pinning the right pages in here. So if I go to add and then add website, and then this is the e-commerce website that we were talking about, and then it's HTTPS, and then you've got the link to the website, www.website.com/parts, whatever it is. And then what that will do is show you that supplier's parts via their web page right here and right within the team channel. So these are your teams, and these are your channels, and these are your tabs. Now, just because you're on Teams and because you're using Teams every day, perhaps like what we do, doesn't mean to say that you have to have the conversation within Teams. You can have one-to-one chat as well. And what you're able to do is chat with your individual team members here. So if I go here at the top and then click on new chat, I can type in somebody in my organization. Richard. Now I know Richard's actually on holiday, so I can type Chris. I can type several people in here, so I don't have to be talking to him in that channel. Hi, Chris. Good morning. So that is one-to-one chat. It's not chat within a team channel. It's one-to-one. And when I'm on here on the chat, if you look at the top right here, I can click on that and do a video call with Chris. I can do a voice call, or I can share something with Chris here on my screen, or a file or folder. And at the top here, I've got files that I share with Chris. So if we were doing an appraisal, for example, that might be the appraisal documentation. We've got an organizational chart, so I can see where each individual is within the organization, and that's useful for larger organizations, because if you're searching for somebody in a department, you might not necessarily know who that person is, just that it's that department that you want to speak to. Then you can find, or it might be a skills-based search. Then you can search the people in the organization there. And then here we've got the activity and what we spoke about and what Chris has been on with, and you can jump straight into that team at any point. So if you remember, on the Teams here and on the Teams channel, I clicked at the top right hand side of the screen for channel notifications. Now, if you enable channel notifications, and I've got them enabled here, and then if I minimize Teams, or I'm out of Teams, I'm in something else, I might be in a Word document, I might be responding to emails, whatever, and somebody mentions or somebody does something, then that will come up as an activity, and I will get notifications of activity within activity here on the top left. And what that allows me to do, if I've got activity, is something's happened since the last time I was in Teams. So I might have signed off, I've finished work for the day, and then come in the following morning. During the evening, people just sometimes chat on here as well. And what I can do is click on activity and click on that specific activity, and it takes me straight back into the team, into the posts, and right back into the right place. So what I don't have to do is click on help desk, click on projects, click on processes, and to see what's been going on, it's right there within activity. Now, one thing we use Teams for frequently, and even more so now that we're all working from home, is meetings. And I can meet with clients on here. I was due to meet with a client in Wakefield on Monday, and of course we weren't able to do that. So what I did, I suggested to the client, I said, well, I'll tell you, well, why not meet on Teams instead? It wasn't familiar, didn't know what that was, so I explained it to him. It was concerned that he didn't have Teams. He says, I'm not sure I've got this. He says, you don't need Teams. So let me go through this with you now. So if you click on calendar, now what this does, it links with my Outlook calendar. So if I go to today, so this is the Mid-Chamber of Commerce Teams meeting I'm doing with you now. I've got another team session a little bit later, so that's my calendar for today. I've probably got nothing on this week, so obviously we're not out and about, are we? We're all at home. So what I can do is click on tomorrow. Now, I was due to meet the customer in Wakefield, but instead we're meeting him on Teams. It's going to be a Teams meeting. So 10 o'clock. So meeting title. So discuss IT support, or discuss project. And then what I'm going to do here is add attendees. So I would put my customer's email address in here. So blogs.com. Of course, it's not found it because it doesn't exist. I don't think. It might be a real person. I don't know. So I'm adding Chris. I'm going to add Clementine as well. And then what it's got here is a date and a time. Add location, of course, it's a Teams meeting. And then discuss project, ongoing project. So that is your meeting. It's going to last from 10 till 11. And once all that's done, you can then click send. Now those people will receive an email, and then when 10 o'clock comes on the 2nd, what you do is simply click on the meeting here and then click join. Now, if you don't have Teams, I mentioned that you don't need Teams to do this, and you don't. As the recipient of that meeting request, you would receive an email, and in your email inbox, you would see a link to join meeting. So you click on the link, and then what your computer will do automatically in the background is work out whether you've got Teams and whether you use Teams. And if you do, it will present Teams to you and present the meeting to you. So you're in the meeting and you're actively talking to that customer using Teams. If you don't have Teams, then it will invite you to use the web clients. So it will bring up your web browser. So Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, whatever you use. It will bring that up, and the Teams meeting would actually be within your web browser. A lot of people that we send these meeting requests to, sorry, I'm not even aware that that's happening. They just click on the meeting, and it opens up in the web browser, or opens up in Teams, and they're just in the meeting. It's dead easy to do. Now, once you're in the meeting, Chris, are you able to enable your video, please? Once you're in the meeting, the person you're meeting with will come up on your screen, and then what we're able to do is speak audibly. Hi, Chris. We're talking about the project this morning. How have you been? Whatever. So you do all the usual. Now, of course, because it's a Teams meeting, I'm able to see Chris's face, and I say, well, Chris, you can't have them in red, but you can have them in pink.
I think that'll suit me. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I expected a surprise look, but so as well as the audio I can hear as I would on any telephone conversation, I can see those facial expressions. So no, Chris, you can't have it this week. It'll be the end of April. It'll be a surprise. Yeah, whatever. But it's really important is that because it's much better than a telephone conversation. And what we're finding now, people are uncomfortable at first using the webcams and being visible, but it's just like meeting face to face. And my customers who communicate with us on Teams are doing this more and more and more frequently, and they're becoming used to it. And we talk on here all the time. So, okay, so I've spoke to you about Teams, obviously, why we're here right now, and all these team chat here and bringing your group together and your team together. I spoke to you about one-to-one communication here and doing meetings here via the calendar. Those there and the activity are the main things you need in Teams to get your organization working from home, to share files and folders, to share communication, and to all work collaboratively together. So do we have any questions so far, Chris, please?
Yeah, we've had one or two which we've answered.
You've answered. Anyone want to share with everybody?
Yeah, well, I've published them. So one was how do you make it private? So I've talked them through that. So
okay, what private private chat or
private channel?
Private channel. Okay, yeah. So like this private channel here.
Yeah.
So what I can do here is click on add channel, and then I can set the privacy here. And then I'm setting that as a private channel. So that might be a director's channel within the team or a manager's channel. So that's that there. Yeah. Anything else, Chris?
And the other thing was about using Excel. When should they use Excel in Teams? When should they use it in the normal Excel? I mean, I was just explaining that Microsoft want you to have everything in one focal point, so Teams. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go out. If you want to go out, you can still have the same functionality of multiple people editing it at the same time. It's just a preference thing, really. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. It just makes it easier if it's in Teams, because you can chat on the right hand side. You can have a video conference around it. So yeah, that was that question, and they're the only two questions really.
Okay, so this is Excel within Teams. So again, it's keeping it within the Teams environment. But as I showed you, if you click on these three dots here I can actually open that in Excel. And it's exactly the same, but what it's doing is giving me the full functionality. So Excel's opening in the background. So okay. So that's opened Excel. So it's exactly the same thing, but now within Excel itself, which I'm used to, I've got all the functionality here. But what I don't have is the chat down the right-hand side, like I've got in the Teams environment here. But I can still co-author this. I can see Chris is here. Oh, that's myself. I can still co-author this. I can still work on this with Chris. So at the top right-hand side of the screen, I can see Chris is joining. And multiple people can come onto here, 10, 20, 30, 40 people, all at the same time, working on these documents together and speaking. And
so you don't have to share it out like you used to within Excel. It kind of gets rid of that functionality. There's no need for that anymore.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to do.
Right. So what I'm going to do now, so I've showed you how we use Teams within Eitex. And what I'm going to do now is show you how to start using Teams in your organization. So the very first time you open Teams, there'll be nothing there. So if you look on the left here, there's nothing there at all. You might have, if you've got IT or other people in your organization who started building Teams, and those channels will appear here. But the very first time your business uses Teams, there'll be nothing there. So to load Teams, if you click on the Start menu here and then type Teams, it will come up as an application here, and then you can load Teams from there. If Teams doesn't come up, it means it's not installed on your computer. Now you can install that via Office 365. Our help desk, our support guys will help you do that. If you don't have Office 365, then you can download the free version from the web, or we can set you up a trial. But the first thing is obviously to get Teams installed on your computer. And then once you've got Teams installed, it'll start by default when you switch on your computer. And as I said, at Eitex, we pretty much use Teams from the moment we're walking through the door, from the moment we leave, because all the communication, all the business activity is within this environment. But if you click on your face there at the top right hand side of the screen once you're in Teams, you can set the settings here. You can set Teams to start, auto start, or switch that off. You can pick your color scheme and those sorts of things. And your devices, are you using a headset? Are you using the microphone on your device, which I'm doing this morning? And those sorts of things. So those are your settings. But you've opened Teams, you've opened it for the first time. So what you need to do now is down at the bottom here is join or create team. So what I'm going to do here is create team. And I'm going to build a team from scratch. And it's going to be a private team. So I'm going to limit it to certain individuals within my organization. Now it's asking me to give the team a name. So again, I can do it per department within the business: sales, accounts, HR, projects, or leads, office, London office, those sorts of things. Or to get started, you could create a company-wide team. So my company, my business, my organization, those sorts of things. I'll tell you what we're going to do, because we're all locked in. Is working from home. It's called the working from home team, and you can put a description here, helping my company work from home, whatever. So, and what that does, it gives the people that are looking in a description of this team. So if there's any uncertainty, they can put more description in there, and then you click create. Now what Office 365 is doing is created that team in the background, and now what it's asking me to do is add team members. So I'm going to add Chris, hopefully Chris. I'm going to add Tom, I'm going to add Jake. Now this can go on and on and on and on. You can have as many people in here as you want. So again, if this is an accounts team or HR, then these are the people that only have got access, are only the people that have got access to that data. So accounts, these are accounts personnel. Projects, these are projects personnel. This is a working from home. It's going to be everybody. And then I'm going to click add. It's giving me a summary, and then I'm going to click close. So that is my team channel. It's done. It's ready to use now. So I can say hello hello. Again, these people need to have the notifications enabled for that to pop up on their screen. So they need to be looking at that to see the hello. But if I do hello at working from home, they will receive a notification, a pop-up that there's something happened in here, and hopefully I'll get some responses back. Now, Tom's answered straight away there. Now here I can add more people, I can create more channels, or I can open FAQ. The FAQ is useful if you started using Teams for the first time. Then it's showing you common questions that people ask, how to get started. But straight away here now, I've started talking to my team. And down at the bottom here, I've got a little arrow. The text is a little bit, the video camera, sorry. The text is a little bit slow, but what that says is meet now. I'm not going to click that because that'll take me out of this meeting and into another meeting. But if I click meet now, it will put a notification on the screen here that there's a meeting, and that the individuals within this team can click join. And all of a sudden you see all their faces pop up on the screen. You'll start hearing the voices, and it's an impromptu instant meeting for your team. So if it's a sales team, you click meet now and bang, everybody's there. If people are not available for that session, for that board meeting, for that sales meeting, for whatever it is, what you're able to do is record the session. So if I go to, if this was a meeting I'd organised now, I'll click on these three dots here. It's grayed out because I'm in a session, but it will say a live session. It will say start recording, and you can create a video recording of everything that's going on during that meeting. So I'll go back to where I was. So all the communication, the files that we opened, it actually becomes a video. And then the participants that weren't able to join at that time can then look at that back at another time, the following day or the following evening, whenever it's convenient for them. So I've got my new team channel now. It's called Working From Home. I can communicate with my team straight away on here. Now what I can do is if I click on files, I can add files for my team to work on. So if I click on upload, for example, now what it's showing me is my PC. I know the writing is a little bit small, and I apologize for that. But if I click on this one, it's called a permit application. And then what that's going to do is saying uploading here. It's uploading that file. And now this file here is available to my entire team. What I'm also able to do, at the top here, there's a sync button. If I click sync, that will synchronize with my file explorer. So I just pull that onto the screen here. That will synchronize with my file explorer, and I've got one here called Introduction to Teams. And those files and folders within that team site are now visible in my file explorer. So I can open these files and folders straight from within File Explorer. I don't have to go into Teams to open them. So that answers kind of the previous question, where do I open it in Teams or do I open it normally? Well, if I open Office 365 packages, that is the same document as what it is in Teams. It's just a different viewpoint. I'm using Teams as a window through to this data, and it's wrapping that Teams environment around it. This is just the standard File Explorer, which I would imagine you're all used to and you're all familiar with. So once you've got this shared and you're in File Explorer, What you can then do is go to your file shares, the data on your PC, and upload them to here. So if I go to Eitex team site and then marketing, for example, copy, and then I go back into the team site and right click and paste. What that then does is takes that data and copies it into that team site. And then if you look here, I've got a blue circle. That means that that data is synchronizing. So what I'm going to do is take all this data from all these different locations and then move it within this team site. That will then synchronize. And the moment it's synchronized, you will then get a green tick. And the moment you get a green tick, that means it's uploaded it from your server, from your PC, from your file share, from your USB stick, from wherever. It's now uploaded that, and it's now visible. It's now visible and available in Teams. And what that allows you to do is upload large chunks of data. Just as a precaution, what I would not suggest is that you take an entire company share that could contain many thousands of files and upload it all in one go, because sometimes there's a lot to upload. Sometimes not all the data will upload, depending on what the file types are and those sorts of things. We are able to help with this process, but what I would suggest for you to get started right away is upload the data that you use as a team on a day-to-day basis, the most important data to you. Upload that first, get started with Teams, and then what you can do is upload all the other stuff that's important to you in the background whilst you're now working in the Teams environment and those sorts of things. So I've got my Teams channel now, working from home. I've got my posts, I've got my files here. And again, what I'm able to do is add the tabs. So anything that's important to me, the websites, I can add PowerPoint presentations, the planner, which again is like Trello. And down at the bottom here, I've got manage apps. And that's where, if I click on that, to kind of an app store where you get a third-party integration with other providers. Again, we use Xero, but there's many. You can add Trello in there. There's many different applications, and you can pin those applications into this Teams environment to keep you working in that, all from the same viewpoint, Microsoft Teams. You've also got here add cloud storage. Now, this is obviously Microsoft Teams. It's using Office 365 OneDrive and SharePoint, but you might, as an organization, you might already be using Dropbox or Box or Google Drive, something like that. So if I click on add cloud storage, I'm actually able to add my Dropbox account or Box, Citrix Share File, Google Drive. So if I was to click on Google Drive, then what I'm able to do is make the Google Drive information visible in the Teams environment here. So that's bringing all the data in from all the different places and making it all visible, all in one place. So here, if I click on these three buttons here, again, I can add a private channel here. So add channel. Sales. So the sales, I'm going to make that private, that kind of thing. Okay, is there any more quick questions, Chris, so far?
Yeah, we've had a couple of the same, and it's slightly outside of Teams, but it's with regards to what if they have one document within a team, or sorry, a channel, and they want to be able to have a guest just modify that one file. So the only way to do it really is to open in SharePoint and share it out. I was wondering if you could just show them that very quickly.
Okay, so if I've got my working from home, what I'm going to do, I've got the permit application. I'm going to click. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the introduction to Teams back show. So I've got my introduction to Teams. I've got the general. I've got the files, which are those here. Now if you remember, I clicked sync, so that made them available on my File Explorer. But what I'm able to do here at the top right, I've got open in SharePoint. And what that will do is it will open this same set of data, but from within Microsoft SharePoint. So let me pull that onto the screen here. Now, to share data, so was it an external person that they wanted to share with, Chris? Or?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So in SharePoint, you need to allow these permissions. So whoever's responsible for your IT, whether that's us at Eitex, or you might have an IT manager or another IT company that you work with, whatever. You need to allow your users to share data with external people. But if I was to share this invite letter here, I click on invite letter, and I might want to share 2 or 3 files and folders, and then I click share. And then what I can do is type in the email address of the person that you want to share that data with. So whether that's somebody inside your organization or somebody outside your organization, they will get an email to say that that file's been shared with you. Now they will then receive that on that email. They'll have a hyperlink, and they click on that, and they're actually looking at that document and accessing it on their computer. What you're able to do as well is say whether you want that as a read only, allow editing. So if I was to share an Excel document with a customer, it might be a costing spreadsheet, it might be an order form where I've got 10 of product A, 10 of product B, 5 of product C. And then my customer is able to see that document with the total cost for each line item and the cost at the bottom, and then they can actively change that to 5 or 10 or 6 or 6. Whatever they change would actually be visible to us at Eitex, and we're actually working on that document together, even though they're there from an external organisation, and you're sharing that data with them. It's really, really useful.
Yeah, just a little bit of background on that as well is any person that you put into that, if you go back a screen, into where you're sharing it to, so whichever email address you put in there, they will get an email from Microsoft, so that when they click on the link, they get a code they have to put in. So it's a form of 2-factor authentication. So not just anybody who gets this link can open it, because it will only go to the original email address that you put in. So it is quite secure in that sense.
Yeah, what you're also able to do is block download. So they can only open that document from your SharePoint site or from your OneDrive. So they can't take a copy of that document themselves. It's remaining on your platform. You're keeping the ownership of that data, and you can also put a time limit on that. So if you was to email a document to a customer or a supplier or a consultancy or contractors that you work with, you can put a time limit. So this data you can access throughout April, but come 1st of May, they've no longer got access to it. And what that allows is you to keep a tighter control of your data by putting those time restrictions on, stopping them from downloading that data as well. Is that okay? Does that answer the question, Chris? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any more questions?
The only other thing was they want to know how to screen share. Obviously, it's quite difficult for you to do.
It's difficult for me to show. But
yeah, but you can show where the button is.
Yeah. So here at the bottom, I'm actually sharing my screen right now, so you can all see what I'm looking at. But what I would do is click on this button here. Now, if I click on it, it's going to stop sharing. But if I click on that button there, what happens across the bottom of the screen here, it shows me what is available to share with my audience. Now, if I've got an Excel document open, a PowerPoint presentation, whatever I've got open in terms of the applications I use, I can share any of those, or I can share the screen in its entirety. Now, the only thing I would recommend is, if you're going to do that, is to remove or take anything off the screen that you don't want your audience to see. So if you're in your accounts package, HR, payroll, whatever, just take everything off, because you're sharing the entire screen, and it's dead easy to sort of make a mistake and that information becomes visible. But so our suggestion would be to share the application itself, or the Word document, the Excel document, those sorts of things. But yeah, it's that button there in the middle. I click on that and I can share anything I want. So is that it, Chris? Is there any more questions? Is that everything?
That's it.
Okay, great. So just to summarize what I've showed you today. So on the left is teams, and these are your teams here. Again, you can set them per department, be it geographical location or company wide. Then these are your channels here, and with each channel you've got your tabs. You've got your one-to-one communication here, where you can speak to individuals in your organization. You've got activity as well, and you've also got calendar, and calendar, as I said, links with your Outlook calendar. So whatever you look at in here, it's the same as your Outlook calendar. I've showed you how to create a team here by joining our create team, and that's where you create a brand new team for your organization. And that pretty much is Teams. Now, of course, you all want to stay productive. You all want to feel connected with your colleagues. This is a great way of doing that. And I appreciate I've shown you a lot this morning. I've given you a lot of information, but please feel free, if you've got any more questions as you go away and carry on with your work day. If you think of anything, if anything comes to mind, how can I use this in my business, or would this work? Do I need to do that? Please email me. My email address. Or Teams me. Right, okay, yeah, in fact, I'm going to do that, Chris. So my email address is dspencer@itex.co.uk. Send me an email, or better still, if you go into Teams and at the top, your brand new Teams environment, whatever, at the top there, you click on that little pen there and type my email address, dspencer@itex.co.uk. And then send me a message here down at the bottom, start a new conversation. It's not, I can't send one to myself, but start a new conversation. How do I? And then we will respond to you. Also, please link in with me on LinkedIn. I'll connect with you. I'll help you all I can. Or Chris or anybody in my team will be happy to assist. So it's 10:30. We've had an hour. I hope you found that useful this morning. Please stay safe and healthy and keep well. And again, happy to help. If there's anything we can help you with at all, email us or Teams us, LinkedIn, and we'll be here. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.